Hello, and thank you all for coming today. Today's presentation is going to introduce you to Henry, who is a Year 4 student who has been diagnosed with ASD. We're going to look at what our legislative requirements as teachers are and why we provide extra support for students who have a disability. We will then hone in on Henry's educational experience and look at what we can all do as a staff to collaboratively support Henry. We'll also look at goal setting and what adjustments need to be made to ensure that we are being inclusive and providing Henry all of the tools he needs to be successful in his educational experience. So, what is ASD and why is it considered a disability? According to the National Disability Insurance Scheme, the NDIS, autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is diagnosed through observation by a multidisciplinary team of health professionals. ASD is a neurodevelopmental condition characterized by impairments in social interactions, verbal and nonverbal communication, repetitive patterns of behavior, and restricted interests. Students who are diagnosed with autism may exhibit many different characteristics, and what one student may exhibit is different to another. Don't assume that just because you've had one student with autism, that all autistic students behave in the same way. There are several legally binding standards that help ensure that students with a disability have access to a fair and equal education along with their neurotypical peers. The Disability Standards of Education, or the DSA, state that students with a disability must be able to participate in learning on the same basis as their peers. These standards were developed under the Disability Discrimination Act and set out the rights of students with disability in relation to their education and training. Working together, these standards set out a process whereby education providers can make reasonable adjustments where necessary. Further to these two standards, the NCCD, which stands for the Nationally Consistent Collection of Data on School Students with a Disability, provides information and support to schools so that we can provide adjustments to students like Henry to ensure that they can access and participate in education on the same basis as their peers. So let's meet Henry. Henry is a 10-year-old student in grade 4 and is the eldest of 4 children. Henry has attended this school since prep and during his time at kindy was diagnosed ASD. Henry's mother has played a very active role in his school experience, and she has formed a strong collaborative partnership between the assistant principal, Henry's classroom teacher, and other allied health professionals. Henry has the cognitive and functional ability to work mostly independently amongst age peers. He can struggle to interpret social situations and become easily frustrated and overwhelmed, particularly in competitive situations. When anxious, Henry can struggle to focus and concentrate on tasks. Henry requires a substantial level of adjustment, with his teacher and the assistant principal working together to modify and adapt curriculum delivery and assessment strategies to ensure Henry is learning. Adjustments are made based on the functional impact of the student's disability in relation to their education. This includes emotional well-being, sensory needs, and transition times. Adjustments can be made in these areas. And for Henry, involve a combination of modifying programs and adapting curriculum delivery and assessment strategies. As we would for Henry's neurotypical peers, we set individual learning goals that allow Henry to become an independent learner and a more active participant in his learning process. Students tend to achieve more when working on goals set for them in collaborative consultation with the school support staff, and Henry is no different to this. Henry, his classroom teacher, his mum, and the assistant principal work together to make Henry have personalised goal that each member of the team can work towards. The priority for Henry's time at primary school has been to develop his self-management and independent functioning skills and develop his engagement, organisational skills, and group participation skills. Today, we're going to look at two goals that have been set for Henry and how together we can help him achieve these. So let's first have a look at a social goal for Henry. Henry will participate in a structured group activity with an adult and one or two peers and engage in 3 or more social interactions with less than 2 adult prompts. So what exactly does that mean? And how can we provide Henry with the resources to achieve this social goal? As I mentioned earlier, Henry struggles to interpret social situations and becomes easily frustrated and overwhelmed, particularly in competitive situations. He struggles to change his thinking quickly and is very literal in his interpretation of the world around him. While you may normally expect students in grade 4 to be able to form their own groups, Henry may find this very confronting. So, when starting a group activity, an adjustment would need to be made in the first instance, and you, as the classroom teacher, would need to assist Henry in selecting a group that you think would be successful. Ensuring that the group only has 1 or 2 peers will help aid Henry to not become overwhelmed. While Henry does not have a teacher aide, it would be useful for the first few times group work is carried out to model the behaviour you would expect to see in group work. That is, taking turns, not talking over each other, listening to your peers, so that Henry understands how to make group work successful. Using the knowledge that Henry has a special interest in space, you could introduce a group activity to the class based on space. Instantly, he will be engaged and focused because it is a topic of great interest to him. This would also be an opportunity for cross-curricular learning by offering Henry a creative way to develop his skills and understanding and multiple opportunities for him to be assessed. While in science, as an example of how we could use space in a cross-curricular way, while in science, he is required to identify, research, and construct questions for an investigation. This could also be an opportunity for his English assessment in the way he forms his questions if he uses the correct sentence structure and punctuation. The classroom teacher can work with the head of curriculum and the assistant principal to find a way to keep Henry engaged in his learning. Building on this, the school is looking into a social intervention program that is delivered weekly by a teaching staff member. The Secret Agent Society, or SAS, provides solutions to support children with social and emotional challenges. Through spy-themed resources and an animated secret agent computer game, SAS provides students an opportunity to develop self-regulation and emotional skills. This is something that Henry will benefit from greatly. Let's have a look at a second goal. Henry's second goal relates to independent functioning. When there is a change in the schedule, demand placed, or a non-preferred work task presented, Henry will utilize visuals such as a star chart or first then next, and maintain appropriate behaviors such as a quiet voice, work completion, and compliance on 5 consecutive opportunities. To help Henry achieve this goal, any changes to the school day should be communicated with him as soon as possible. Using visuals in the classroom can be a very effective way of supporting self-regulation skills and promoting emotional regulation. Visual schedules such as these provide Henry with the chance to manage his day and allow him take up time to see how the day has changed. Using a visual, you can also break the day up. So what would look like a large task, for instance, the whole day at school, can be broken into smaller tasks, now, then, next, to make the day look more achievable. Henry will benefit from quality differentiated teaching strategies that include the use of these visuals, an easy-to-view timetable, and explicit instruction of new content. An inclusive classroom is a thriving ecosystem. As with any ecosystem, for it to thrive, all parties must coexist and work together to create the best possible learning environment. Students across the board have different learning styles. It's not just Henry, we've all had a Henry in our class. With this in mind, when working with students with a disability, as a teacher or teacher aide, information may need to be presented in a variety of ways so the student can receive the information in their preferred learning style. This also extends to assessment. For example, Henry doesn't like writing and may not have the skills necessary to be successful in a writing assessment, so he would need to be given an opportunity to demonstrate his learning through an oral presentation. On the slide are some other alternative assessment options. What alternative assessment options can you think of? A whole school approach will help Henry and other students with additional needs manage and learn new skills. Within the classroom already, the school provides a sensory yoga area and social stories for teaching and learning social norms. Collaborative consultation is vital to ensure the needs of Henry are met. This image is a great diagram to show how many different people should be involved in a collaborative consultation for the student. It's not just the classroom teacher, there's parents, the deputy principal, the occupational therapist, the speech therapist, the teacher aide. For our school to be fully inclusive, we must all be on the same page. Continuing to actively collaborate with Henry's mum, classroom teacher, assistant principal, and other specialists, we can support, nurture, and enhance Henry's learning and promote absolute inclusion within our school. I'll end today with the words of Rita Pearson. Every child deserves a champion, an adult that won't give up on them and that understands the power of connection. When we collaborate and work together towards a common goal, we can achieve great things, not just for Henry, but for all of our students. We must insist that they can become the best that they can possibly be. Thank you.